So I've made videos about whole playthroughs with 16 summoners and 16 rangers, and they went pretty well. They're good classes, we could sweep through the whole game and have a lot of fun with it. But let me tell you a story where none of that is true, a story of pain and suffering, the story of 16 mages. Our journey begins in a simple forest. The young mages hatch from their eggs and begin the perilous journey into the ocean, defenseless against the hungry slimes. That is, until one mage forgets what world they're playing in, and then another. It only took 2 minutes. Anyway, mage can't do anything in the early game. Melee can craft a sword for everyone, rangers can make bows, summoners can farm for Abigail and then share it between everyone. Mage has got nothing. No wooden chests near spawn means no wands of sparking, so that leaves gem staffs. I send the mages to the mines to get weapons, but they don't have torches because those require gel, which requires killing slimes, which requires weapons. We've got 16 players, and nobody can kill anything. Before we can mine for gem staves, we need light sources. Pots and chests are the only real option. Eventually, I run into a shine potion by the corruption, and then I have a very friendly worm follow me back to the snow biome. The very nice worm has slaughtered everyone that came with me, and there's nothing we can do about it. Worms are quite predictable, so I dodge around it and get it to despawn by waiting above it, and now I can actually start getting weapons. In this world, sand was swapped with snow, and ice was swapped with sandstone. That means we've got desert loot in the snow biome along with the leftover cacti, and snow loot in the desert biome. Because there are no snow enemies that go through blocks and the spawn rates are pretty low, it makes mining here quite safe. I collect amber and then locate what I came here for. The Thunder Zapper. The ball starts rolling. I wield the power of lightning for 2 shots before I run out of mana. Well, I can make an amber robe for extra max mana, so I can at least kill a single enemy before I have to stop attacking. As one of the, 3 people in the server with weapons, it falls on me to protect everyone. Mana is actually a pretty serious issue here. If you're playing solo, you can collect enough fallen stars pretty easily. In a world with 16 players, it's very difficult to get enough mana crystals for everyone, especially since fallen stars are also used for mage potions. It makes any armor that's easy to craft and that buffs maximum mana, like gem robes or the jungle hat, extremely valuable, and we try to get as many of those as we can. Since I also have the most money, I go ahead and set up pylons in the snow ocean, desert, and forest. We still only have weapons for about half the server. The underground desert should have a lot of gems sitting around it because the original snow biome would have, but if you make a snow biome that uses the underground desert's generation, it becomes a lot safer. If you make a desert biome that generates like a snow biome, you have created hell. All of the sand is unsupported. If anything updates nearby, all of it will fall, crashing down on anyone unlucky enough to be underneath. But that's not even the most fun part. The underground desert has obscenely high spawn rates. Normally they're balanced by the fact that most of them will be spawning in small caves disconnected from the player and you can easily block them off. But everything is wide open here. The antlions swarm you constantly. You've got huge masses of tanky, fast, and powerful enemies that you can't block off, combined with ceilings that'll collapse on you if you so much as sneeze. I have 120 max HP and can't kill a single enemy before running out of mana. But that's not going to stop me. I'm looking for diamonds. I did find some, for what it's worth. By this point, almost everyone has at least an amethyst staff, and we stage a rebellion against the king. King Slime massacres us in response. I mean, when most of the server has 100 HP, weak staffs, and almost no maximum mana, it's just a nightmare. 20 minutes. It took 20 minutes of dying to King Slime to pull off a victory. We've been playing for 2.5 hours. We're way too weak. We wouldn't even be able to kill the Eye of Cthulhu if it spawned. I go back to mining in something that isn't the desert to get more gems and life crystals to make us stronger. Over time, we get tons of them. The goal is to gear everyone up with emerald, ruby, amber, or diamond stuff. Emerald is the point where gem gear becomes good. The emerald staff is the first one to pierce, but we don't have tungsten in our world, so we can't easily make them. And emerald is the lowest tier robe that buffs mana by 60. But gem staffs are not gonna cut it. The good ones pierce once, the bad ones don't pierce at all. They consume a lot of mana, and mana rations have been pretty scarce since the second month of the war. I need to find a weapon that has good damage to mana ratio, pierces, and that we can obtain 16 of. The shadow over the server grows ever stronger, casting doubt and fear into our hearts. But the shadow is parted by the shining light of the cavern layer, the one true hero to save us from doom. The Wand of Sparking. The skeleton merchant is currently selling an umbrella. Tomorrow morning, he will sell a Wand of Sparking. They only cost 1 gold, so we can get as many of them as we want. I entrust another player to sit with him so he doesn't despawn, then buy 16 of them the next morning. It only costs 2 mana by default, and with some mana cost reduction, that goes down to 1 mana. It deals 14 damage with a high crit chance, pierces, and inflicts a damage over time effect. The Wand of Frosting deals even more damage and has a better burning effect. Now, the wand's damage per shot isn't as good as a diamond or ruby staff, but the burning effect helps to close the gap because they are very good against worms. The biggest strength is just the fact that it costs 1 mana instead of 6 or 7, which lets us attack pretty much constantly. When we needed him most, the Wand of Sparking came to save us, and we crushed the Eater with it. But killing the Eater doesn't actually help that much, it just sated my bloodlust. We got meteor armor and a space gun for 1 person, which is great for that 1 person, but isn't a big buff overall. Skeletron is what stands between us and actual weapons. Right now, we're armed with gem staffs, bees, and a space gun. I've still got my Thunder Zapper. I summon Skeletron. The server seems to have let me summon Skeletron during the day, which then caused him to instantly enrage and instantly kill everyone. We try again, and we get slaughtered. Gravestones flying out left and right, blood dripping down from the chat box. At the end of it all, we've only gotten him down to 25% of his max HP. And it comes down to one thing: DPS downtime. If someone dies, that's 30 seconds of them not attacking the boss, and when everyone is dying constantly, that's a lot of damage we miss out on. As the Archmage of this school, it's my duty to protect the students. I aggro Skeletron to myself, having everyone else sitting on the sidelines forming a magical firing squad. I make a little ceiling to protect myself and weave back and forth when necessary. It doesn't matter if I get hit, it doesn't matter if I'm hitting him. I need to keep him here to protect everyone else and to make sure that they can hit him. I can't die either, because if I do, we can't kill him. It's like being a tank, except I have 300 max HP and I'm not very tanky. It's 4 AM. I can't make us meaningfully stronger. I can't manipulate Skeletron so that we'll deal more damage to him. This is as far as I can push things, and 8 seconds was all that separated us from failing. Had 1 or 2 people died, or I moved Skeletron around for a few seconds, we wouldn't have made it. It might not seem that impressive, but managing to scrape together a victory here against Skeletron was probably the most difficult thing I've ever done in a multiplayer game. This world has been nothing but setbacks and failures, ones that only exist for mages. We're already on day 2. In 9 hours, we need to beat the game. I start looting the dungeon and send most other people to work on a Wall of Flesh arena, and things are finally turning around. Aquaceptors, magic missiles, flame lashes, water bolts, demon scythes, the actually good weapons flood the server. Down to the underworld, I make a wall to protect us from errant demon scythes while we wait for everyone to... I really am like the Archmage of a magic school, desperately trying to stop all 15 of my students from killing themselves. We destroy the Wall of Flesh, sending us into hard mode. We've got a couple of hours to prepare for the mech, so I get to mining as best I can to get armor sets for everyone. Takes a bit of time, but I get hundreds and hundreds of bows for each hard mode medal. That'll make sure everyone has something. As long as my students have been working on getting weapons and some other basic upgrades, we will be all set for the mechs. As you'd expect, that didn't happen. I take some time to fix the Soul of Light farm that people had been using. When building a farm, it's important to remove places where enemies can get trapped. Then, I get a Sky Fractor for myself and head to a mushroom biome to farm Cursed Flamebooks. At this point, I had started getting a little frustrated during the stream. I'd pretty much spent the last 8 hours trying to help everyone get items and gear non-stop, and it didn't get us anywhere. I was even keeping myself at 300 HP for a while to get weaker players to higher life totals. I had been hoping everyone would be ready for the twins. They weren't, and I called the fight off early because of it. This is a dire situation. I don't know what to do here. We don't have mass-producible and effective weapons. Rangers can just make repeaters, summoners can share summons, and in the melee world, we were just farming Drippler, Cripplers, and Dower of Powers to kill the Destroyer, and then we could get light discs. Had I spent my time farming souls instead of mining, we could have gotten more weapons, but then most players wouldn't have had armor. It's a lose-lose situation, and we end day 2 without a single mech boss defeated. I may not like Mage. This world may be extremely behind. I might have been having a miserable and exhausting time during certain parts of this world. But we haven't lost yet. There's only one path I can see for bringing back this world. We need to kill Duke Fishron for his magic weapons, but with our current strength, it'd take way too long to cut down a boss with over 1,000,000 HP. So I have everyone leave the server and we summon him with low HP, then they all join back in and we shoot him from a distance for the treasure bag. I send about half the server off to the jungle after hitting him once to start working on a Plantera arena. Then we do it again. and again until almost everyone has either a Razor Blade Typhoon or a Bubble Gun. We crush the Destroyer, Twins, and Skeletron. I send 4 people to prepare the dungeon for ectoplasm farming, 8 people to work on Plantera's arena, and myself and 3 others to mine chlorophyte. I use my overwhelming magical powers to devour huge swaths of the jungle, getting us hundreds and hundreds of chlorophyte bars by the time the arena is done. We head down and beat up Plantera. It's really not that interesting. I mean, we have Fishron weapons by this point. I intentionally hold off on Golem, though. I have plenty of experience with multiplayer worlds, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that if there is any amount of time between killing Golem and starting the cultist, then Martians will invade. So instead, we get to farming ectoplasm. I make a lovely little farm in Plantera's arena, it's very efficient, and I get rich in the process. Combined with the people in the dungeon itself, we get tons of moth. For reasons that I can't quite remember, I decided to do a Frost Moon, and, yeah, that's Frost Moon for you. Golem gets destroyed because, again, Fishron weapons. If you do a pre-mech Fishron, then all of hard mode is a pushover, which is why we needed to do it. The cultist dies, and I pull together all of our nebula fragments to get blazes. It's only enough for 13, so I craft the rest just before the Moonlord, and we see all of the Moonlord's greatest hits, 13 tongues, 3.3 million HP, being completely defenseless in his last phase, and the Mage hell finally ends. This is a remake of the original video because it was originally a highlight reel of the stream and I was not having a great time during the stream and I didn't like the video very much. And I'll say things about Mage sucking or being bad, and some of it is a joke and some of it is true. There are points where Mage can be very powerful and there are points where Mage can be very bad. And those weaknesses are extremely evident when you have 16 of them. So, at the end of the day, yeah, Mage sucks.